Hello everyone. I'm honestly, I was planning on like doing my makeup and hair and everything. I have just like my little ponytail. Oh, Togepi's here. I've decided not to just because I didn't want to. It's the honest truth. Um I know I'm tired. I'm really tired. I wanted to talk about my weekend, but first I figured I'd start with the negative and end with positive. Not on the weekend, just the negative was my trip home yesterday. I had such an awful day. So I've actually treated myself with not just a glass of wine, but from Snake River Valley. I actually got it in Idaho. It's called Menopause Merlot, which is kind of cute. I liked that. So anyways, hi. So what happened last night? And thank you for the love and support and everything that I received. Oh, my camera's running low on batteries. Let's see if I can fix that. Okay. While I fix that, I will explain what happened yesterday. I'm just gonna like grab things if I can. What happened yesterday was I have two flights. Oh, hi. Two flights from Boise, Idaho. Yesterday. I did a weekend intensive there. I'll explain how that was. It was fucking amazing. But anyways, I had this intensive. Hang on, I gotta plug this in. How do I plug this in? Sorry. I had an intensive, and then I was going home. Come on. From Boise, Idaho. It's awkward. And I love Boise. Oh, right. Someone was talking about how it's Boise, not Boise. Because I actually, over the weekend, I heard it pronounced Boise many times. Oh, fixing the lighting. I heard it even pronounced Boise. But someone from the weekend was like, no, it's not Boise. It's Boise. So I'm trying really hard to say it right. Which is a long way from when I first heard of the city. And I had no idea. I thought it was maybe like Boise. Or boys. I would say bois. I thought that was like French. That was the French in me. Not that I really have any, but you know, I'm Canadian and we know some French. A little bit. So I had a flight from Boise to Seattle and then Seattle to Vancouver because there's no way to go directly from Vancouver to Boise or back. And that's the case, honestly, with a lot of times that I present in the States, I do have to go from Vancouver to Seattle and then Seattle to wherever I'm going. It's not a big deal because Seattle and Vancouver are maybe like 2-3 hours drive apart. So the flight is definitely less than an hour. You're like, like 40 minutes maybe. I keep getting corrected as well. I just laughed and said, I'm a Colombian. So, I had my flight from Boise to Seattle. No problem. It was actually really nice. I got moved up to a seat, like the nicest seat I've ever had on an airplane. Because my last name is Beach, spelled B-E-A-T-C-H. Oh, hello. It looks like biatch, which I love. I kind of wish it was biatch. But there are times when, for example, at the airport is really common, or if I have some government person call me or whatever, they always go, Miss, how do you pronounce your name? Because I know that they want to say biatch, but they're too afraid to. And then I say, it's Beach. And I usually make a comment. I'm like, it looks like biatch. And they always say, you know what? I was afraid to say it. So, they always ask just how do you say it. And then yesterday they needed me to come up to the whatever and they said we're looking for Robin Beach, and I was like, oh, they actually said it right. And I went up to the desk and I said, hey, you said it right, it is pronounced Beach. And there was this guy, he was like, yeah, I wondered, I wasn't sure, so I thought I'd go the safe route and there was a woman next to him, and she was like, I thought it was biatch, and I was scared. And I kind of told the joke. I said, yeah, most people kind of were like, hey, how do you pronounce your name? And then after kind of having a laugh, the guy was like, you know what? That's a really awesome last name. I'm gonna like move your seat and upgrade your seat to something I would normally have to pay for. It wasn't quite first class. It was like economy plus. I was in the row right behind first class. So I was like, oh, thank you. Nicest seat I ever had. So that was really cool. I was really happy about that. It was a comfortable flight, had a good time. I got off the plane really early, and yet I still managed to be late, just barely late for my flight from Seattle to Vancouver. They were still at the gate. I ran and I said, can I still get on? Please, can I still get on this flight? And they were like, no, I'm sorry. We're not taking any more passengers. You're Robin, right? And I was like, yeah, that's me, because they knew it was me. I said, please just let me on. And they were like, no, I'm sorry. It's too late now. We're closing the doors. And I was like, fuck my life. What do? I have to get home. And they said, well, if you go to that's how they talk, right? You know this. You know this is how they talk. They said, well, if you go to customer service, they can find you another flight. No charge. Like, they're so generous. So I went to customer service as quickly as I could, and I said, hey, I just missed my flight. What else do you have? I just need to get home, please. And I'm Canadian. I'm not like yelling at them or anything. If anything, I'm just like, I'm in your hands. I'm desperate. Please help me. I just need to get home. And they're like, well, let's take a look for you. Let's see. And they said, oh, it looks like all of the flights that are happening today are overbooked. But you know what? We could get you in first thing in the morning tomorrow. And I'm like, who is able to do that? But I have a job. I have children. My husband has a job. I didn't go into all of that. I was just like, I can't wait until tomorrow morning. I need to be home today. And it wasn't exactly late in the day. It was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, I need to get there today. And they're like, I'm sorry, we have nothing for you. You just have to wait till tomorrow. And they even had this to say. They were like, you know, you're lucky that we're doing this with no charge. I was like, so I honestly started panicking at that point. I kind of just walked off and kind of started hyperventilating. I had this like panic attack because I was trying to think, how do I get home? I have to get home. And so I started looking up all my options. I was looking at, I started looking at the train. I know there's a train that goes from Seattle to Vancouver, but that was fully booked. There was nothing again until the next day. I looked at a whole bunch of different sites to try to rent a car. I thought I could rent a car. I could drive. It's only a few hours. I've done the drive a million times. It's really not that far. But the cost of having a car in Seattle and leaving it in Vancouver, unless they wanted to drive it back to Seattle and figure that out, was fairly expensive. I mean, it wasn't awful, but it was like, it was a decent amount of money. And then I've got Brandon, my co-parent, who is like, I'm talking on the phone with him, and he's like, well, why don't I just come drive there and come pick you up? Because it's like depending on how the border is, you're looking at 2-3 hours. And I thought, don't put the kids through that. That's a lot of driving for the kids, because we have a 4 and a 6-year-old. That's a lot of driving for the kids. So I said, no, don't do that. And then I thought, Greyhound. I used to take the Greyhound all the time. Yeah, it's like, I don't know what the word is, kind of shady, but I was like, you know what? Let me look at the Greyhound. I look, and there was a Greyhound left. 3:05 was when it was supposed to leave Seattle. And I'm looking at my phone. By this time, it's about 2 o'clock. And I think, okay, I could do that. It was fairly cheap. 4.5 hours on a Greyhound. Not the greatest, but like a solution that would get me home that day. So then I start thinking, okay, how do I get to the Greyhound station? Is it far from the airport? Yeah, it was like a 25-minute drive from the airport, not including traffic. And I was like, shit, I don't have a lot of time to get there, because it says very clearly on the Greyhound website, and I've had experience with this, you have to buy your ticket 20 minutes before the bus leaves, or they won't sell you a ticket. So I'm like, I have to get there like now. I very quickly see if there's any like shuttles, which there wasn't. City bus routes weren't helpful. It would have taken me a good 45 plus minutes to get there via bus, like city bus. So I'm thinking, fuck, a cab. That's going to be really expensive to take like a 30-minute cab. But this is all I have left. And I'm starting to wonder, is it more worth it to rent a car than to take a cab and pay for a Greyhound? So I go up to the cabs, and I'm thinking, $40 is my maximum. That would, because the Greyhound was fairly cheap. I think $40 is my maximum that would make it worth it. So I go over to the cabs. I said, how much to get me to the Greyhound station? And they were like $50, $55. And I was like, have a good day. And I just started walking away. I was like, I don't have fucking time for this. I just said, I just started walking away. And then one of the cab drivers came running after me. He was like, no, how about 40? 40, that's the best I can do. And I was like, I can do 40. So I gave him $40, and he drove me to the Greyhound station. Again, the whole time I'm looking, I actually tried booking the Greyhound online while I was in the cab, because I thought, I can't miss out on getting this ticket. And it wasn't working. They said, oh, call this number. So I'm on the phone in the cab trying to get this number. And the guy picks up and he says, no, they're all sold out. There's no more Greyhounds left. And I'm like, fuck my life. I already gave this cab driver my $40. Maybe I'll try to get a seat. Like, that's the only hope I had left at this point. And I was like, I was too overwhelmed to even think about anything ahead of that. I was like, I'm just going to try to get there and see if they'll give me a ticket. So I hung up. Get to the Greyhound station. Just in time. It was like right at the 20-minute mark. And I get there, and the staff is on break. Again, I was like, fuck my life. I'm worried they're not going to give me a ticket, or that it's full, or it's booked. And someone, I'm kind of like, and they can tell I'm at the desk, like, and someone comes to the desk, and he was like, I was having a smoke. I'm like, I'm really sorry. Can I get a ticket for the 3:05 bus to Vancouver? He was like, yeah, we can do that. And I was like, oh, I'm good to go. I felt so relieved. Thank you so much. This is where I need a drink. Turns out, me and the entire Greyhound station full of people had to wait 3 hours. Our bus was late. 3 hours. Hey. 3 hours. I tweeted. I called customer service. I did all. Anyways, it was a whole nightmare. We finally got on this bus really late. Have you ever seen those horror movies? No, sorry, not horror movies. Sorry, I'm thinking comedies. The comedy movies where everything goes wrong. I hate those movies. I really struggle with the movies where you watch those comedies where everything goes wrong, nothing goes right. I get really pissed off and really frustrated when everything goes wrong. This was one of those. This was my life that day. Do you remember Home Alone? Home Alone, my mom even will tell the story about how as a kid watching Home Alone, I got really upset because nothing was going right for those burglars. And she kept being like, those are the bad guys, you know? And I was like, no, they just are getting hurt everywhere. Nothing's going right for them. I can't stand those movies. That was my life yesterday because Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, basically. Right before getting on this Greyhound, and I'm not ashamed to say this because I feel like this is my body, okay? This is something that happens to people. You have no control over this. I got my period. And I bled through my pants. I'm at a Greyhound station. where there's no machines, nothing available for me to get, no products. And usually I have something extra on me, but I just so happened I didn't have any tampons or pads. So I'm at a Greyhound station shoving wads of toilet paper in my pants, and then I take my sweater off. I have to tie it around my waist so nobody can see that I bled through my pants. It was just one of those like days where everything went wrong. Finally got on the bus, got home. I got home at like 11:30 p.m. last night. I was supposed to be home by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My flight was supposed to arrive at like 2:30 yesterday. So yesterday was a really long, fucking awful day. I didn't get a lot of sleep, so I'm pretty tired, but you know what? I'm actually in a good mood because I'm just happy to be home at this point. I got through it. I'm good. Having said all of that, because now I'm home, I'm just chilling. It's over. I struggle when things are really bad in the moment, but when it's done, I'm like, it's done. I'm home now. I don't have to deal with this shit anymore. I have to tell you about my weekend other than that. I was in Boise, Idaho for a group called Alt Collective. It's a kink group basically in Boise, and they were really cool. I've been in Boise a few times now for RelateCon, which is a polyamorous / ethically non-monogamous kind of weekend. Some of them are kinky, some not. It was really cool because this was like, I knew some people from RelateCon and some people I didn't know, so I got to meet a lot of new people, and it was like just kink scene, which was really nice. And it was female presenting tops. Oh, we love having you here. I love Boise. It's become one of my favorite places. When I tell like my other friends in Vancouver, I'm like, oh yeah, like Boise, Idaho, and they're like, that's a really random place, because usually you think like a sex educator might be like in San Francisco and Portland, and yeah, like I go to those places, but like I love Boise. Just the people are so amazing. I really love it, and the community is really cool. So anyways, I'm not of course gonna name names. Come to Virginia. Talk to your organizer. Find an organization in your area and like give them my information or give me their information. Hook me up, because I've never been to Virginia. I will be there in a fucking heartbeat. I just need to know who it is and like their information, and vice versa. If you ask for me, give them my information. That's how educators get jobs. Original Orange 06 says, I loved it too. It was such a great time there. I can't wait to go back. I don't know what it is. Boise is just kind of awesome. I've been there. I've been going there for the last 3 years. Love it. So anyways, I think one of my most memorable workshops, at least for me, was the breath play workshop. I did a breath play workshop. Of course, I'm not going to say any names, but I had 2 demo bottoms, both of which didn't have a ton of breath play experience, but we did a ton of negotiation and everything like that. And they were both really excited. Both had very different responses to a lot of the demonstrations. One person even had like a mini trigger reaction, and she was like, you know what, I actually like almost drowned years ago, and that kind of felt like that. And as soon as, I'm really glad she did a good job at like she quickly tapped out. And we talked about like signals and everything, but we didn't even discuss the tap. If you're doing anything and someone gives you 2 or 3 taps on the arm or wherever on your leg, 2 or 3 taps, that is like the universal wrestling signal. It is a universal signal for like stop. That's like a red. If someone gives you 2 or 3 taps on the arm, and that's exactly what she did. She kind of reached and gave me a couple taps, and I was like immediately knew, and I stopped. I checked in with her, and she was fine. She kind of like had a moment, and I put my hand on her chest. We did some breathing. I calmed her down, and she was like, yeah, that was really difficult. I'm okay. But like, yeah, that made me think of my previous drowning experience. She also had her partner there with her, and so we were able to like help keep her nice and calm. She was okay. She took a bit of a break. And I had another demo bottom. I did a saran wrap demo. It's breath play, right? I did like a saran wrap demo, and she ended up loving it. She's like, I've never really played with saran wrap, but I kind of just loved feeling encased in something. And I was like, oh, okay, that's really cool. I did render them both unconscious at one point. They were totally both up for it. Oh, I miss you too, and I miss you. I meet so many wonderful people. I wish I could spend all the time in the world with, like, literally everyone. I just love everyone I meet. Wish I could spend more time with all of you. Anyways, I rendered them both unconscious, and it was cool because it was very different. And it's nice when I have more than one demo bottom for that workshop because I can show, yes, it's different. The first one, the one that had a bit of a stronger kind of mini trigger reaction earlier, she was like, I totally want you to knock me unconscious. I'm up for it. Let's do it. I'm like, all right. So I rendered her unconscious, and she had a moment when she came to, and I saw it right in her eyes. She looked at me and had like this moment of fear, very common when you are rendered unconscious. And we talked about that in negotiations. Sometimes people get confused because it takes a moment to figure out where you are, and that can be really scary. So she just looked at, like, me dead in the eyes, and I could see fear. And I said, you were unconscious for a moment. I'm right here, and you're safe. And she quickly calmed, and then she was like, no, that was really cool. And as she kind of started to calm down, she was like, no, that was really cool. That was a cool experience. And she shared it. Someone says, I can't wait to see you at RelateCon. I bought my ticket. Yes, good job. I'm excited. Actually, Ginger and I were talking about which workshops I'm going to do. I don't know if I should say them yet. I'll tell you my experience about the other person. The second person I rendered unconscious. And it was quicker. She kind of did like I'm unconscious, so now I'm awake. It was very, very quick. She was only unconscious for maybe like 3 or 4 seconds at the most. And she had a very like blinky experience where she came to and was kind of like, okay, that was cool. Like, she had a few blinky moments. It was really cute. Don't let it be a surprise. Okay, I won't tell you. I won't tell you what I'm presenting. Ginger and I have been talking about it, and I'm super excited. But I won't say what it is. So, it was really cool to watch, and I think for everyone else to watch those two people be rendered unconscious. And then, someone else said, my partner, and this happens sometimes in a workshop, where they say, I've never been rendered unconscious, I don't think I can. Or she said, my bottom, my partner, is a big guy. He's got a big, thick neck. We've tried rendering him unconscious, and it doesn't work. I don't think it's possible. He fights back too much. He's got a big neck. And she said, would you try? I was like, sure. If he's willing, yes. And she ran and got him, and he was willing. And we had a like quick mini negotiation. You know, no heart conditions, no blah, blah, blah. And in less than 10 seconds, which 10 seconds is the max. I do not hold a chokehold longer than 10 seconds for safety reasons. So I gave him a chokehold, and he went down. And he was a big guy, so he kind of like brought me with him. I was like, whoa. It was good. I usually kind of like gently lay them on their side, but he went, he's a big guy. So he went down, and as often people do, he kind of twitched for a couple seconds, and then he came to, and it was funny because the whole room was silent. This was a room packed with people, and I think maybe it was a bit of a shock for them to see like this big dude just go like, and so everyone's silent, and then you just hear him, you go, here. He gave like this little laugh, and then we all kind of burst out laughing because everyone knew he was okay. And it was a great reaction to like an intense kind of suspenseful moment where he just gives this like deep giggle where he's like, and I said what I usually say to people when they go unconscious, because sometimes they forget what happened. I said, you were just unconscious. I'm right here. Your partner's right here, and you're safe. And he went, no, I didn't. And we all giggled because we were like, sweetie, you went like timber, like you were out. You went out. And yeah, he didn't believe us for a moment. It was really cute. And then he was fine. He eventually like sat up when he was ready, and I talked to him later. He was totally fine. He was like, that was really cool. I've never had that happen before where someone was able to just like knock me out. So part of me had like a little bit of ego because I was like, yeah, I did it. I was honestly really nervous because this is a big dude, and they said like I haven't been able to get him unconscious. So I felt like there was a lot of pressure in front of a crowd for me to do it, but I did it, and he was really cool. We had a good chat about it afterwards. It was fun. So that was, I would say, my most memorable workshop that I did this weekend. And the person that I did the saran wrap demo with, we actually ended up playing later that night. She was like, that was really fun. I kind of want to play with the wrap more. So we had a really fun scene where I involved a lot more like wrap, kind of more of a semi mummification scene. It was a really good time. I had a lot of fun. And I usually, when I do like a conference or an intensive and I do a video, I like to say like what I kind of came away with for that weekend. And this was my big takeaway from that weekend. I know there are two major kind of organizations in Boise. One is like the Alt Collective, those are the folks that I presented for this weekend for the Femdom Intensive. And then there's like the RelateCon, which is the polyamorous, but I know they do some like kink friendly stuff weekend. The people that did the Alt Collective, they were looking for someone, and Ginger from RelateCon recommended me. So there was that connection there. And then at the end of the weekend, the organizer Puckett of Alt Collective had said to everyone, hey, there's also RelateCon. I highly recommend you go. I've heard only good things. And I had a moment where I thought, so many of these organizations, especially if they're in the same community or geographical location, there's all this competition, and they just seem to try to compete against each other. That goes with organizations. That also goes with sex educators that are often like just competing against each other. And to have both groups work and promote each other and to like share contacts and to share information, that was so refreshing. It honestly just made me get like the warm and fuzzies inside. And it's hard for me as an educator to remember that. I sometimes feel like this competitive bug in the pit of my stomach, and I try to remember it doesn't help anyone if we try to compete. It makes a bigger difference if we work together. So I'm like, I try to remember to network and to work with other people instead of trying to compete, to go, what, why don't I help promote you, and you can be in like my video, and you can help promote me, and I can be in your like podcast or like whatever it is. Let's work together and promote each other, because then it's a win-win. And it makes me really happy when I see organizations working together to share their educators, share their contacts and information, and promote each other instead of trying to compete. So that, I just thank you honestly to both Alt Collective and to Ginger of RelateCon to working together and giving us all that reminder that these organizations and these communities should be working together to bring communities in and promoting each other so that you both are doing better instead of trying to compete and bring each other down, because that happens all the time. That was my major takeaway. Honestly, that was so, so, so nice. I fucking love Boise. You can have me there anytime. Like, anytime you call me and I'll be like, cool, I'll be right down. I'll go. I will present there anytime because I absolutely love it. The community is amazing, and I just loved watching the communities actually helping each other out. I have to scroll because I saw a few comments. Like, ha ha ha, wow, smiley face. Oh, yes, cool. That's amazing. I do love our big kink community. This is a beautiful community. I can't wait to go back. I'm going to be back for RelateCon, which is the weekend of April 24th. And, like, that's not soon enough. I love it there. I want to go back. And, yeah, so. I'm going to call it a night. That was my big takeaway. And I hope others remember that, whatever your community is, whatever your connections are, just like remember to, it benefits everyone if you actually just work together and help promote each other. I know it's hard to be not to be competitive. I do feel that sometimes, and I try so hard just to be like, no, actually, it helps everyone if we just promote each other. Me either. Can't wait to visit. Good night. Yes, good night. I'm going to bed. I'm exhausted because I didn't get enough sleep last night. I'm going to go to sleep, but I just had to say I had an amazing weekend. So good. And November's a big month for me. I've got a lot going on. Tomorrow I'm doing my Hump Day Q&A. It's a live video on consensual non-consent at 7:30 p.m. PT. I'll be doing that tomorrow live on Instagram. And then, of course, I'll be posting the video on YouTube as well if you didn't catch the live video. And then this weekend, I'm going to be in Victoria, BC. For those of you that are not familiar, that's on Vancouver Island. Victoria's gorgeous. I fucking love Victoria. I'll be presenting for Indigio. They're doing their annual conference called Conception. And I'm going to be presenting Primal Play. I'm super excited. So that's this weekend. Take care of yourselves and you have a good night. I'm going to bed. Love you. Mwah.